Look, we get it, Tiger fans. We know the baseball season can be a grind. Luckily, when you're ready to trade hot dogs for tailgates, we've got you covered with Litterbox, a Detroit Lions podcast. It's the same unfiltered Detroit sports talk you get here, just with more biting kneecaps and fewer bullpen meltdowns. So when Sunday rolls around, don't just pace around like AJ Hinch waiting for a reliever. Fire up Litterbox, a Detroit Lions podcast, wherever you're listening now, and roar with us through the NFL season.
Billy P. from the D and Chet here. Thank you all for listening to Litterbox, a Detroit Tigers podcast. If you enjoy the show, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you never miss an episode. We love hearing your thoughts too. Leave us a rating or just drop us a comment. Please let us know what you think and whatever you want us to cover next. Your feedback really helps us grow and keeps the Tigers talk rolling all season long. Go Tigers, and thank you.
You're listening to The Litterbox, a Detroit Tigers podcast, with your hosts, Chet West and Bill Patterson.
The Tigers finally won one. However, that changes nothing for this pod co-host's opinion. The two losses to the Guardians, 5-2 on Tuesday and 5-1 on Wednesday. Basically, I think the season ended there, and I am as upset as I've ever been, and I'm going to use this platform to vent a little. Chet, what are your thoughts?
Take the other side of this, Bill. And I had to do a deep dive in my emotional toolbox here to figure out how to be positive on this whole entire situation. But there was a time not long ago, prior to, well, let's just say July of 2024, when late season baseball meant absolutely zero to the Detroit Tigers organization and their fan base. We had nothing to look forward to. We didn't have any players that had any redeeming qualities, really. We didn't have much. There was a gap there of about a 6 to 7 year period where things were just in the toilet, and Detroit baseball was an afterthought. Now we have a back-to-back Cy Young. We have a cadre of young players who show some promise, and we have some coming up through the pipeline. I'm going to use that little pipeline thing there that Scott Harris is probably going to use at the end of this season, regardless of the result. So I'm a little more positive, thinking, let's look at what we have, not what we don't have.
Okay, real quick, that's the second time on this pod you've brought up a back-to-back Cy Young winner. He hasn't won the Cy Young this year.
He should.
Okay, but he hasn't.
You're right. He hasn't won it yet, but he should. And at least he's up there contending. He'll be in the top two, right?
Yes.
He's either going to be the runner-up or the Cy Young winner. So I shouldn't say back, but a potential back-to-back.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair, and
you're right. You're right in correcting me.
You're bringing up an excellent point, and let me explain my position, and feel free to poke holes as you want.
Okay.
I just think that I'm coming slowly down off this cloud. And if the cloud being this magical run they've been on since August of last year. I mean, it happened at the middle of August, and it's been nothing short of amazing. It's been nothing short of fun. And I still sit here and can't help but wonder if the problem isn't bigger than Scott Harris, because I also happen to be a pretty big hockey supporter and fan of the Detroit Red Wings. And I'm starting to draw parallels, whether that's fair or unfair, Chet, to what this egregiously long rebuild is going on with the Detroit Red Wings, and looking that, well, Chris Ilitch is the principal owner for both these franchises. And were Scott Harris's instructions at the trade deadline to dumpster dive because he being Chris Ilitch is not his dad willing to, let's say, operate maybe not the same margins that would be the key level of profitability. The Tigers have drawn well this year. They've given the city something that's long overdue to cheer about, because last season it was really only 2 months of meaningful baseball. And I still think, no, there was no magic rabbit there, but you and I have used the term get creative, and I've not seen any creativity from this Tigers front office. And if Scott Harris gets up there and hides behind the farm system, you have wasted 2 great years of potential. And let's hope he wins the Cy Young. I'm a huge Skubal fan. You've wasted 2 years of that, Chet.
Yeah.
And his value is now.
I called that out in our last show. I'm fully aware of that. I mean, that was my, it's like the Lions with Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. It's wasting top talent. But
we've already decreased Skubal's value on the trade market probably to 80 cents on the dollar, unless they get rid of him in the hot stove meetings this winter. If they trade him at next year's deadline, I equate that to 15 cents on the dollar, 10 cents on the dollar. And if they just let him walk for nothing, which maybe they'll sign him. I don't think it's a good value to sign him. Let New York or one of the East Coast or West Coast teams pay him that money and focus your efforts elsewhere. Again, I am going to cringe and feel like I'm being gaslit if Scott Harris gets up there and says, well, we made the playoffs. That shouldn't have been the expectation this season. The expectation in July in the All-Star break should have been you get one of the 2 top seeds and you compete for the World Series this year with the best pitcher in baseball in a deep lineup of young talent. And they needed a leader to lead them both on the mound from the bullpen standpoint, another starter, and they needed a big bat that's reliable.
I just don't know that it was out there or that easily obtainable. I agree with your creativity idea. I mean, they needed to be more creative, but you just don't know what's out there. This is part of, like, as fans, we don't know the other side of the tale here. Like, I can sit here all day long and say, we need this, we need this, we need this. Do you think the front office doesn't see that? I mean, it's not like they don't want to win. They want to win. They're just, I think it gets to the point where it's easier to say it. It's harder to do it when you're in their situation and they don't have ownership who's going to go out there and buy winning teams. They're just not the Dodgers. They're not the Yankees. And I know you're picking on the owners more here, probably a little more here than you are the GM, because you want to see them back this team financially the way that the elder Illich backed his teams back in the teens financially.
Yeah.
But that also created a quite a deficit in those latter teen years that they had to dig out from underneath. They were in the red for a while. It's been well reported they lost money on the team. The Illiches didn't lose any money, but the team lost some money. I think the construct of baseball is a tough one for fans to wrap their heads around. The business concept. You've got these no salary cap. So teams that can spend wildly. You've seen what's happened to the Twins with no television revenue coming in. And it's our expectation that these billionaire owners are just going to lose money on one of their ventures. I keep going back. They're not billionaires. They wouldn't be billionaires if they were willing to lose this kind of money.
No, they're smart
business people first. They're smart people. They don't want to lose money on a baseball team when they can make money on a baseball team. That's the decision you're being given. Make money or lose money.
And we can point to the New York Mets, whose owner is a billionaire running it.
There you go.
Like a fan.
Yeah.
And they're struggling mightily.
Their team is still bad to a degree. I mean, they still do not run things. It's just, you're right. You're dead right. That's a fantastic example. And then it comes down to, well, do you want to lose money and not get to the World Series or the playoffs? Because the Mets are eyeballing that right now.
Yes.
I mean, that's a very real reality scenario. And There's a team that traded for Ryan Helsley at the deadline, and Ryan Helsley basically pooped the bed.
Yes.
I mean, the guy didn't perform. And they gave up young talent. They've given up money, and they still aren't getting what they want. Baseball's an imperfect sport where that's concerned.
So coming back to my fandom, there's two things can be true at once. One, I don't know the parameters that the Illich family and Chris Illich put on Scott Harris and company.
There's a lot of unknowns for us fans.
So we don't know that. Number two, when I say get creative, I'm still, and we've brought it up ad nauseum, but the Rafael Devers trade, like just thinking outside the box. And I guess what I don't want is the front office to get up in front of us and I'll use the gaslight again, get up there and say, hey, it was an epic collapse. We didn't see it coming. These guys are better than that. Nobody stepped up, so on and so forth. And Chet, the fact remains, you and I documented this for months, that players like Z-Mac, Matt Vierling, they were punching so far above their normal weight.
Yeah.
Gleyber Torres, Javier Baez, or Javi Baez, whatever we want to call him. And outside of Riley Green and Dylan Dingler, there hasn't, I guess Torque, there hasn't been real reliable offense. And I get the team's young, but boy, oh boy, I just wish the Tigers had given us something more than dumpster diving. And so my concern is Scott Harris looking at metrics that are not applicable or not accurate? Or was it, hey, you don't have the budget to do it because we're still paying this awful Javier Baez salary, and this is the first year we've really drawn in almost a decade, and I'm different than my dad. I'm not going to, I'm not a sports fan. I wasn't a Detroit Tigers farmhand like my dad. I am going to run it as a smart business person should. Yeah. Profits and losses. And, if we're not making 20% on this or whatever the number is, then no. And so
I think the days of yore when the owners put their emotions behind a team, I think the money is just too much these days. I think the investment and the outlay is just so much that you have to have a business mind to deal and run these teams, or you have to say no and you have to have limits. And I think baseball, of all the sports that we have, I think baseball is so due for a salary cap. It's so ridiculous. I mean, and I will say this, and I'm stealing this a little from a friend's podcast called Roster to Rings. Listen to the Rosters to Rings podcast. The latest episode from this past week, they had Jason Garrett on. They talk about the 2026 CBA that's coming up and how the salary cap is going to be in huge focus coming around the corner here. One of the solutions or one of the offerings to this should be a salary floor likewise. And they deep dive it. They do a much better job than you and I ever will discussing the monetary, the finances around all these things. But I think that the salary cap is necessary in baseball to keep these teams in business, A, but B, also to keep the competitive balance, but put the floor in there too. I mean, I think a team like the Pirates or a similar team that never invests ever in their team monetarily, finishes in last place or second to last every season. You know what? If they don't exceed a certain amount in salary to show they're competing and willing to compete on a year in, year out basis, don't give them their revenue sharing. Don't give them their money. Penalize them. And in European football, we have relegation. We have penalties. When those teams get relegated to lower leagues, they don't draw as well. They don't get the finances. They don't get the monies that come along with being in the Premier League. Maybe that's, maybe we got to penalize some of these teams for not trying hard enough.
I couldn't agree more. So if we're going to look at it holistically, yes, baseball needs a salary cap. Yes, there needs to be a salary floor. Baseball's biggest issue we've talked about, though, is how hard it is to access the game, and that the Dodgers have their own network. The Yankees have their own network. Yeah. The Red Sox have New England Sports Network. The Cubs have Marquee. And the problem is you and I pay for MLB app, and I'm blacked out of, two of 30 teams.
Yeah. That's like a whole nother business failure of the MLB. It's like I get where you're going with that. That's another thing that needs to be worked out.
Okay. So let's talk about the here and now.
Yeah.
Winning one of three, I guess. What does it do for the Tigers?
I'll tell you what, they're back in first place.
Okay, but
they lost first place. They got it back. They won a game they really had to win.
But they still lose all tiebreakers.
Yep.
Because the Guardians have taken that series, for the year. Mm-hmm. So now we go to Fenway Park, which is going to be fun. I mean, what a great
way to end it.
Yeah. I mean,
and this goes back to my 2 seasons ago, we had nothing.
I know.
I mean, what a great way to end a baseball season.
So we've got Mize on the bump tonight going up against Harrison. Actually, I like the Tigers chances in this one. It's Kyle Harrison. He's 24 years old. He is a lefty, and his ERA this year is 3.58. His whip is 1.19. I still think the Tigers, I give them a puncher's chance now that they finally got the monkey off their back. And I think they can win 2 of 3. The question is that going to be enough given the other 2 things that we have to scoreboard watch now? The Guardians are playing the Rangers, who are still, I believe, mathematically alive, but hanging on life support. Right?
Yes.
Okay. And that is in Cleveland. And then we also have to pay attention to the Astros, who are traveling to Anaheim to play the Angels. And so, yeah, it's fun. First place is, back in play. The Tigers are 2-8 in their last 10. Nowhere to go but up. I certainly hope they take 2 of 3 from the Red Sox. But at this point, what worries me is they're sitting at 86 and 73, the same as the Guardians. The Red Sox are a game ahead of them, 87 and 72, and have not clinched a playoff spot. The Mariners clinched the AL West with 90 wins currently. Toronto has 91 wins, so do the Yankees. So getting one of those top 2 seeds is completely off the table. And then you've got the Houston Astros, who won yesterday against the Athletics, a game behind you at 85 and 74. So it's basically 3 teams for 2 spots.
And you back into it if Houston just loses out, right?
Yes.
And
4 teams.
Boston is playing for something right now. So we got to go to Boston to play a team that's playing for something at the moment.
We might have to end up playing one of these teams in a 3-game series next week.
Who would you it is the question right now. If the season ends today, you're playing Cleveland in the first round of the playoffs, which the last thing I want to see is more of Steven freaking Kwan. I don't want to see any more of him. I'll tell you right now, you've brought him into focus for me. He does all the right things.
He's awesome.
If you want to look at the Cleveland baseball team, they do all the things the Tigers don't do. They play small ball. Half their runs from this past week's series were like bunts and moving guys over and doing the little things.
Yeah, I lost my belief in this team and don't want them to backdoor in because I think they'll have no momentum. I think they'll be dead in the water.
Sure.
That all being said, Chet, I actually would prefer they play the Guardians in a 3-game set next week because they can't play any worse against the Guardians. Can they?
I don't think they can. As a matter of fact, I think there is some upside to playing the Guardians to one degree or another. They're like our unicorn. We cannot solve them year in and year out. It becomes very difficult to watch one team beat you consistently and do it with like what amounts to Chinese water torture.
Basically.
Like little drips and drops here and there. It's not like they blow us out. It's not like that, it's almost like, hey, we've got the hope, and then it gets ripped away in the 6th or 7th inning. I'm just happy we're doing postseason baseball, and this goes back to my original theme here. I'm happy we're in the postseason. I'm happy that these games are meaningful. I do find it interesting that we did something amazing last year, and we may do something even more amazing on the other end of the spectrum this year.
Yes.
But it is what it is, and I'd rather have this than nothing and be uncompetitive in September.
Agreed. And it makes for good potting for the fact that we can sit here on opposite ends of the spectrum, saying similar things, but yet coming at it from different angles.
It's about the content, people. It's about the content.
So here's what worries me. I think Mize is going to have a good outing tonight. I think the Tigers, again, that monkey off their back, I expect them to win tonight. Going up against a lefty is going to present its own challenges, but I think some of our hitters are due. What concerns me is tomorrow. It's the 3:10 game of the week in that Saturday afternoon slot, to be determined on every website I'm looking at for our Detroit Tigers going up against Connolly early, who doesn't have a lot of history. He's 1-1, 1.88 ERA, 22 Ks, 1.12 WHIP. So there's not a lot of tape out there. There's not a lot of anything to go off of. And then Sunday we've got Skubal on the bump again, and the Red Sox this time are to be determined. So it's going to operate like a playoff series, which should hone the Tigers fairly well for the postseason, which I'm gathering that you're expecting almost at this point, where I still think they could not make it. And
there is definitely a chance they don't make it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not banking on anything. I'm just saying, A, I love how exciting it is. And B, if they do somehow get through this and get into the playoffs, they're battle tested, baby. I mean, they're ready to roll.
Yes.
There's no downtime. There's no waiting around. They've been in the playoffs for the past week, as far as I'm concerned. That's what this has been like.
So you've done a great service to me because you've pretty much talked me off the Tigers ledge that I was on.
That was all I wanted to do today.
Yeah. So not only are you a good friend, you're a great co-host, and getting me back on board, excited for what's going to happen tonight, excited for what's going to happen tomorrow, and watching with bated breath on Sunday. So for that, I thank you. And I hope the Tigers deliver on this. And agreed, it's a lot more exciting now than it was 5 seasons ago when we were looking at call-ups that are no longer part of the organization.
And people, you could always be a Rockies fan. You could always be a Pirates fan. You could always be an Angels fan who have had one of the best baseball players of our time and paired with the other and still never getting to the playoffs. You could be, any one of these fan bases. You could be an A's fan losing your team to another city, but you're not. You're a Tigers fan. Your team is in the mix in the final week of the season. Don't take that for granted. We can go back the other way real fast. Let's see what happens at Fenway. No expectations at this point, other than I'm going to enjoy at least watching a game or two of baseball, one way or the other. Hopefully it's enjoying watching 3 more games of baseball in this season. It's going to be done pretty soon.
6 games total is what you mean.
We're going to come back next spring. The flowers will blossom and we'll have hope renewed.
Hope renewed.
And we'll do it all over again.
Excellent.
So let's see what happens here in the final 3 games. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Litter Box, a Detroit Tigers podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're Bill and Chet. We'll be back soon with more Tigers talk. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you got a minute, leave us a quick review. Till next time, go Tigers.